After nearly dying from Flowey, the player is introduced to Toriel, who leads them through the ruins. It is here where the goal of the game is revealed. As the player questions Toriel on how to get home, she says to the player that she will destroy the exit from the ruins. Upon following her, she will challenge you to a fight to prove that you are strong enough to survive on your own. Once the fight is over, the player is free to exit the ruins and encounters Flowey one more time before continuing to the rest of the game. Once out of the ruins, the player will be introduced to two characters, Sans and Papyrus. This is important to know since they will end up changing the game later. This is the first time we see a blue object since everything is usually black and white. This contributes to the game's physics since for blue objects the player must not move or they will take damage. This is a good example of the inclusion of projectile motion. This is another example of the blue physics that we saw earlier. Here is a good example of real-life physics applied in Undertale. In real life, people slide on ice due to a thin layer of water that appears on the surface of ice. This thin layer of water lowers the ice's static friction, allowing kinetic friction to take over and making it difficult to navigate the slippery surface. Here's another example of a blue attack and what happens if you move. This is the first time we see the heart change color, and when it's blue that means that it's altering the gravity. And here's a good example of projectile motion being used. Undertale uses basic physics principles such as using reflections to make the experience better for the player. However, since it is 2D, the effects are limited. In more complex 3D games, the player sees the character's reflection in other objects since the game's graphics and physics engine uses the law of reflection to simulate the behavior of light reflecting off a surface. The rendering of the character's image is calculated based on the angle of incidence and the position of the player relative to the object. So, when the character's model in the game intersects with the water surface, the physics engine calculates the angle of incidence between the character's model and the normal line of the water surface. Then using the law of reflection, the engine determines the angle at which the character's reflection should appear in the water. During Undyne's fight, the player is introduced to the third type of battle-changing physics, which is represented by the color green. In this battle, the green heart is showcased and forces the player to be stationary. The only movement can be done by using the arrow keys. And here's some more examples of projectile motion. So here is supposed to be the scientist of the game, even though she's a bit wacky. Here's a demonstration of the game's physics in which orange objects are passable but the blue ones are not. And here's an example of Newton's third law, which is being shown by using propulsion to move the player through the puzzle. The next time the heart changes color is in this battle. It changes to purple and is similar to the green heart, but allows for movement in 3 sections instead of being completely stationary. It also allows for this to happen, which is specific to only the color purple. This battle mechanic is not seen with any other color. Soon after, yet another transformation can be seen, and this time it is with the color yellow. This allows the heart to shoot bullets, as can be seen here. Even though it is normally useless, in later fights with him, the bullets can be used to attack his heart. During the battle with the king, he destroys the mercy option. He also uses projectile motion, along with the concept of blue and orange while attacking the player. Spoilers, Flowey ends up killing the king and becomes super powerful. This part of the game is very interesting since saving the player's progress is an essential part of the game's own physics, but Flowey defies this and in a way creates his own. I've spent way too long editing this video and I need some sleep. Bye.